Let me start our recording here. All right, y'all. Good morning again. Welcome in if you are just joining us. If your schedule says creative writing first period, you are in the right place, which I believe is everybody that is here. So good job finding the link, finding the class. Thank you again. Happy Friday. All right, so as you can see by the slide I have up shared on my screen, we are going to start talking about the book that we are going to be reading for our project, which is Homegoing. That is the name of the book. So we're going to get a bit more background on that. And what we're going to talk about today is this idea of family trees, since that is something that is kind of central to the plot of the book. And if any of you remember from class on Tuesday when we were kind of doing our background info on the project, we talked about, where do we draw the most inspiration from? Is it the past, the present, or the future? And, do our past ancestors, our past relatives, do the past that they take influence the paths that we take or the people that we become? So that's what we're going to kind of start doing today. All right. So what I would like everybody to have pulled up um, on Summit is the resource. I'm just checking the chat here real quick. Okay. All right, Ashley, thank you for letting me know. I just saw your chat. Okay. And as always, don't forget that these classes are recorded. So if you want to go back later and catch up, you can always head to the Yes Philly YouTube page. I'm going to be uploading all the classes for this week later today. Okay. So what I would like you to pull up on Summit is, and I'm going to put it in the chat as well. Under checkpoint 1, I want you to find the link for the entry event note taker, and I'm going to share my screen. Well, it's already shared. I'm going to use my student view to show you how you would pull that up right now. So when you get to Summit, your page will look like this. And then you're going to go over here to your year view, find our class, which is creative writing. Okay. And then find our project right here, Homegoing. Okay. And then you'll see you have checkpoint 1 assigned to you right here like this. It says reading notes. And then if you click on that and you scroll down, right here, you will see the second link says entry event note taker, and then it will look like this. Okay. So that's what I want everybody to have pulled up on their computers right now. Okay. One more time, how to find that while you're pulling that up. When you get to Summit and you log in, your page will look like this. Head over here to the left where you see your year view. It's those excuse me, those lines like this. And then you want to find our class, which is creative writing. And you want to click on the blue little box here that says Homegoing. And then you'll see this number 1 right here. That means checkpoint 1. So click on that and then scroll down to see the second link here. It says entry event note taker, and it should look like this. Okay. So please do me a favor. Let me know when you have that pulled up by telling me in the chat. You can give me a thumbs up. You can say got it. You can say yes. But please let me know that you have this pulled up in the chat before we move on. So let's try and get this pulled up in the next 2 minutes or so if we can. And again, once you have this pulled up, please let me know that you got it in the chat. I've not heard from a lot of you today. I'm going to assume it is just the Friday vibes that are going on, but hopefully everybody is still here with me, following along. Okay. And again, if some of us aren't at our computer right now, that's fine. If you want to screenshot whatever we're doing and know that the recording of class will also be up on the Yes Philly YouTube page later today. So if you search Yes Philly on YouTube, you'll be able to find our page there. All right, so still haven't heard anything in the chat, so I'm going to go over this one more time real quick on how to pull this up. So heading to summitlearning.org, like you see up here, log in like you usually do. This will be the page that comes up. Go over here to your year review, all right, where you see all your classes. Find creative writing, that's our class. Click on our project. Oh, excuse me again, which is homegoing. And then you'll see checkpoint 1 assigned to you like this. Click right there, scroll down, and you want entry event note taker. Right? And then when you click that, it should look like this. Okay. So that's what you need pulled up. If you, for some reason, are not finding it, if you are having trouble getting logged on to Summit, please let me know that. If you still aren't registered for this class on Summit, like if you don't see creative writing on there, let me know that as well, and I can give you the code. But I think everybody that's in here right now should be registered. All right, so how are we doing with this? Do we have it pulled up? Can we let me know in the chat that we're there, that we got it? Is everybody still alive out there this morning? How are we doing?
Period. I need
Again, questions with this? Do we have it pulled up? Are we having trouble finding it?
having trouble finding what?
Oh, sorry.
I took screenshots.
Okay. All right, yeah. So when I said having trouble finding it, I was referring to this note taker sheet right here. Okay.
Are we supposed to answer those questions?
So that's what we are going to be going through right now. So this is exactly what it sounds like. It is a note taker. So as I'm going through our PowerPoint over here, you guys can type and kind of follow along with me on this note-taking sheet. So, like for example, the first one says defining your own words. What is an epigraph? We're going to go over that.
I know what it is. Can I say it?
Do you already know?
Yeah.
Why don't you hold on to that for me for 1 second while we get started? But then I would love to come back and hear from you, Ismaya. So thank you. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So then, if you were doing this, you could type right in here, okay, this is what I think an epigraph is, right? And then
where I write it at.
Do the same thing right here. So that's what we want to have. You're writing it on this note taker, which you can find on Summit. That's what we should have been pulling up the last 5 minutes or so. But again, if I don't hear from anybody, I can't help answer anybody's questions, my friends. So hopefully we can wake up a little bit this Friday morning. Okay. All right. So again, real quick, before we jump into
I knew the
quiz-
answer though.
Okay. So one more time, real quick. If you are on Summit, you want to find checkpoint 1, scroll down, and then this is going to be like the second link right here, entry event note taker. And then
Where's Summit? How do I get on?
have
How do I get on that?
So I will put that in
Yes,
the
I do. That's what he's telling us.
I put that in the chat for you.
He's shut up. You're not talking about no placement, dum dum. How do I get on Summit?
All right. So Ismail, if you head to the website that I just sent you in the chat privately,
I'm on it.
Okay, that is where you want to go, and then
Now what?
you might need to. All right, thank you, Tyquil, for letting me know. You might need to pull up, or excuse me.
All I see is kids sitting on the floor.
Yeah, so you might need to register. So if it says like log in or like
I see log in.
Yeah, so you might want to do that, and then it's going to ask you to probably put in a code.
It say enter enrollment code. Where that's at?
So that's what I'm going to give you in the chat right now. Let me just pull this up.
I need my computer because my phone is not. No, I need my phone to be my phone.
All right. So I want the chat. Yeah. So if you're doing this on your phone, it might be a little bit tricky. I would recommend switching to your computer, but I'm going to put into the chat. I'll put it in there for everybody just in case anybody still needs it. But that is the enrollment code that you want to put in there.
Shut up.
And then you should be able to register for the class. Right. If you're not able to do that, let me know.
Don't be saying their names. Okay. Can you pass me the code, please?
It's in the chat. It's in the chat. Okay. All right. So I am going to put you on mute right now just so we can keep going because we have everybody else here. But if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat and I will answer them. But I want to make sure we're using our time.
I'm logged in now. Now what I do?
Effectively. Okay, let me see if I can assign you real quick. You were able to put that code in that I gave you?
Mm-hmm.
Not seeing.
It say my email address is invalid.
Okay. This might not be.
It's talking about something they want to take access to my Google account, saying it could delete my stuff.
Yeah. So that's fixable, Ismail, but I don't want to take up too much more of our class time right now trying to go through this. So I'm going to send you Miss Christina's email in the chat. And if you email her, tell her what's going on with your summit, she can get you hooked up. Oh, or you can just leave the chat. All right, ladies and gents. Well, the rest of us, hopefully, I apologize for the delay, but the rest of us hopefully have this note taker pulled up by now. So again, you are trying to follow along, take notes on here. All right. So you're going to do that with what we have going on these slides. Okay. So like I said, we're talking about family trees, where are we from, where are we going? Okay.
Hello. I'm sorry. Whew. I was just downstairs, so I don't even know what's going on. I was in the laundry room.
No worries, Kanaya. We are actually just kind of digging into the beginning of our kind of background info on the book we're going to read. So,
Are we writing stuff, or are we just like reading? Like, am I just following along with you?
so if you are on your computer,
Mhm.
you can head to Summit and you can pull up. I'll show you real quick. You can pull up. It's called Entry Event Note Taker. And it looks like this. And where you'd find that would be you go to.
So
Hang on,
do I put, which one do I click? I push reading notes.
yes. So you want to hit checkpoint 1, reading notes, right? And then if you scroll down, like I'm doing on my screen right now, you should see like the second one says entry event note taker. And if you click that, it will look like this.
Entry event.
Let me know if you can find that.
Okay, I have it. Okay, thank you.
All right, awesome. You are welcome. Good job. And if anybody else is still having trouble, please let me know in the chat. All right. I know we've kind of taken a minute to pull this up, so I apologize if people have been waiting, but I just want to make sure everybody has this pulled up is on the same page. Okay. So back to it. All right. So we are talking about our text that we're going to read called Homegoing. I have my copy ready to go. All right. This is a very celebrated book, won multiple awards, including the American Book Award, the Audie Award for Literary Fiction and Classics, and the National Book Critics Circle John Leonard Prize. So it's written by Yaa Gyasi. She is a Ghanaian, I hope I'm saying that right, Ghanaian American writer. It was first published in 2016. So the story starts in 18th century Ghana and follows two sisters on very different paths to America. So if it starts in the 18th century, about what year is that? Anybody tell me either in the chat or over their mic? When something's happening in the 18th century, what years is that thing happening in? Can anybody remind us of that? So if it's in the 18th century, that would mean it's happening when? Like what year? $1800s?
Oh, hello.
Hello.
Okay, so these are just the questions, and we're reading a book with you.
Yeah. So whenever I'll let you guys know when you can fill something out on that note taker.
Okay.
So basically, that note taker is just to help go along with the PowerPoint that we're looking at right now. Yeah. And Tyquill said 1800s for 18th century. That is a very understandable guess, right? But remember, whenever we say like what century it is, it's always the year is always kind of one set behind that, right? Because you got to think the first century started at 0 and ends at 100. So then the second century starts at 100 and ends at like 199. So when we say the 18th century, we're actually talking about the 1700s. So it's always like one behind, which I know can be tricky. But so think about like the Revolutionary War, like all that stuff. That's all happening in the 18th century because it's in like the 1700s. And you can see kind of by this picture right here that it's very kind of period accurate. So this is pretty much at like the height of the transatlantic slave trade. It's kind of in its peak right here in the 1700s. All right. So just a little bit about the author. She was born in Mampang, Ghana, and moved to Huntsville, Alabama at age 10. Has a BA in English from Stanford University and Masters of Fine Arts from the Iowa Writers Workshop. Excuse me. And this was her first novel that she wrote at age 26. So imagine the first novel you ever published going on to win all these awards. So very, very awesome. Right. In 2016, she was recognized as the National Book Foundation's 5 under 35, being 5 authors under 35 that everybody should kind of check out, keep an eye on, because they're going to do really awesome stuff. All right. So now you'll see the first question on that note taker. All right. Says, define in your own words what is an epigraph. So on page, VII, which is kind of like the kind of pages before the story starts in the book, and I can, give me 1 second, show you it on my copy so you know what I'm talking about. But so on this kind of like first page in the book, I don't know if you guys can see it on my camera, but this is what they're talking about. Like when you open up the book, it's like at the beginning, it has this Acon proverb on, right? So we see on page 5 is the epigraph, or short inscription or quote at the beginning of a book to suggest a theme. It is translated into English and it reads, "The family is like the forest. If you are outside, it is dense. If you are inside, you see that each tree has its own position." Okay. And so now if you look on your note taker, right, if you have been following along, you can see now we have some questions that we can answer. So first one says, define in your own words what is an epigraph. And so that's what we just went over, and I'll put it back up in a second, right? And then down here we see that same Aiken proverb that I just had up on the slide. And we have these two questions, the same two questions on the slide that we can answer right here on the note taker. What do you think it means? What do you think it will mean for the text? Okay. So if I put that slide back up, right? So here we have kind of the definition of an epigraph. So that first question is asking you to define in your own words what that is. And then here's those other two questions for part 2 that you can answer down here. Okay. So if you can, let's take let's take the next maybe 5 to 7 minutes, and see if we can fill out the first part of that note taker, right? So I'm talking about this part right here. So number 1, and then number 2. So everything up until this line right here, okay? And I will put that slide back up again so you can see the epigraph and it, the definition. But let's take about 5 to 7 minutes, see if we can fill out this first part of the note taker. And I will come back in and I want to hear from at least 1 or 2 of you what you have filled out there, okay? So let's see if we can do that right now. Right. So again, what you should be doing right now is filling out the first part of that entry event note taker that you should have pulled up from Summit.
Mr. V, I'm confused. You're talking about a definition. Where's the definition?
So it's asking you. Let me show you. So it's saying, define in your own words what is an epigraph, right? And then the slide that I have up here has this little blurb right at the top. It says on page 7 is the epigraph or short inscription or quote at the beginning of a book to suggest a theme. So it gives you a definition up here on the slide. What that note taker is asking you is like, okay, in your own words, what is an epigraph based on like what it says and what you see right here. Did that help at all, Shabria?
So I gotta read the quote in order to figure it out.
So reading the quote will help you with these questions. The first question I would focus on this part right here, where it's just telling you what an epigraph actually is, because that's what the first question is asking you.
All right.
All right, but good question. Thank you for asking. Let's take let's say 4 more minutes if we are still working on this. And then we'll jump back in, see what some people have come up with.
It can straighten me up. I was like, no. Because she told me some shit. I was like, no.
I have a gift. I have a gift for you.
Okay, hopefully your mom wants to come.
I know. She being weird. She said she don't want me down there.
All right, y'all, take about 3 more minutes. And again, we are trying to get the top part of this note taker filled out. All right, should be able to do that with everything we have on this slide right here, okay? All right, about one more minute and then we'll check back in. All right, so what did we come up with here? I'm going to try to fill mine out right along with you guys. Okay. So task one, number one, define in your own words, what is an epigraph? What did we put for that? Anybody want to share what they put on their note taker if we were able to fill it out? Can we define in our own words what is an epigraph? You can tell me in the chat. You can come off mute if you want. But what can I fill this in with right here? What is an epigraph? Is anybody able to get this filled out on theirs? No thoughts for this? If we go back and look, let's see what does it say. All right. On page VII is the epigraph or short inscription or quote at the beginning of a book to suggest a theme. Okay. So it tells me what the epigraph is right there. So how can I sum that up in my own words? What can I write here on this note taker to tell me what an epigraph is? What did it say on that slide we saw? Can anybody help me out with this? Either over your mic or in the chat. This is a gentle reminder, ladies and gentlemen, that participation does factor into your attendance grade, which is worth 40% of your final grade. So whether it's in the chat or over your mic, I do need to hear from you and see that you are engaged. Question is, what can we fill out for the first space on this note taker, where it's asking us to define what an epigraph is in our own words? So I'm asking, were we able to fill that out? Did we put anything there? Can we share what that is? Do we have an idea? And again, I'll throw the slide up again real quick. If we look on the top part of the slide, it says page VII is the epigraph or short inscription or quote at the beginning of a book to suggest a theme. It's translated into English. So in that short little blurb, it kind of tells us what an epigraph is. So what the note taker is asking us to do is, how can we define that in our own words. You know, what is an epigraph? What can we write here? Is there anyone who can help me out with this in the chat or over your mic that is still with us, still following along, has not gone back to sleep or vanished suddenly? Anyone at all who can help me out with this, y'all? This class will move as slow or as fast as you all allow it to move. All right. If I am not getting any response, yes, thank you, Tyquil. All right. If I'm not getting any responses or any participation for anybody, I can't really keep going with the class. So the more you guys participate, the more we will be able to do, and the less you will just be staring at your computer or your phone, looking at me, waiting for you guys to answer. Okay. I know it's Friday. I know it's our first week of this term. But I hope on Tuesday or I hope to see a little bit more engagement when we come back next week. But the Tyquil is right on the money. An epigraph is a short quote at the beginning of a story or a book that helps us kind of identify the theme, the theme that book will be about. All right. So that's what I can put in my note taker that you all can follow along and put in yours as well if you have it pulled up. All right. Oop. All right, so I'm gonna take out the highlight color, but an epigraph is a short quote at the beginning of a book that helps identify the theme. Okay, so that's what hey, good morning, Deja. That's what I can write for the first part of my note taker. So if you have your note taker pulled up and you're following along, please feel free to copy that onto yours as well. All right. And if any of you are just joining us or stepped away and are coming back and are not sure where we are, all right, in the chat, I'm putting it right now, we are on Summit. Then you want checkpoint 1. And then you want entry event note taker. So Deja, like I know you just joined. Anybody else that has stepped away and is wondering kind of where we are. All right. So that first, 1A, now we have that filled out. We have kind of our own definition for that. Right. So if we move down to the second part, we see these two questions here for, this Aiken proverb, which is the epigraph for this book. Right? What do you think it means? What do you think it will mean for the text? So let's try and get something filled out for this before we head out today. All right. Again, that proverb says the family is like the forest. If you are outside, it is dense. If you are inside, you see that each tree has its own position. So let's just tackle the first part. All right. What do we think that means? Okay. What do we think this proverb means. The family is like the forest. If you are outside, it is dense. If you are inside, you see that each tree has its own position. What might that proverb mean? What is it trying to say, do you think? Again, you can tell me in the chat. You can tell me over your mic if you want to come off mute. But I would love to hear.
Honestly, I don't get it.
Okay, well, let's see if we can break it down, all right? So the family is like the forest. If you are outside, it is dense. So this word dense, what does that mean? If something is dense, what does that mean? I think maybe we need to know that to be able to figure out what the whole thing means. If something is dense, does that mean there's a lot of it or there's only a little bit? Michael says a little bit. Let's think about it this way, okay? If I said, I've been trying to, so this is like using this forest example, okay? Like if I said, I was trying to walk through this forest, but it was really dense. There were so many leaves and branches, I could barely make it through, okay? Would that mean that there's a lot of leaves and trees and branches and stuff, or there's not that many if I used it in kind of the way I just did? Yeah, it's a lot of leaves, right? Okay, so so when something is dense, it means there's a lot of it. It's very thick. You might also hear this used if somebody's referring to like a book they're reading and like, oh, this book is really dense. It's hard to understand, meaning like there's a lot of it, to unpack. So this tree saying the family is like the forest. If you are outside, it is dense. So meaning like there might be like a lot of trees, a lot of branches. It might be hard, to see. If you are inside, you see that each tree has its own position. Okay. So we have this kind of like outside the family versus inside the family thing going on here in this proverb. So they're saying if you're outside, the family is like the forest. If you are outside, it is dense, meaning if you're outside the family, it seems dense. So what do we think that means? What is this trying to say about somebody who is like an outsider looking in on a family? How might that family seem to that? How might a family seem to a person that is, like on the outside, is not in the family?
I don't know. I guess different. Like a lot of problems they might not be used to or something.
Yeah, definitely could seem different. Definitely could be hard to, hard to understand at first, right? Good morning, Salam. Right. And real quick, before I forget, let me make sure I have my attendance updated. All right. So Deja is here. Salam, I actually don't see you on my list this morning, so you might not be in the right place. You want to make sure you check your schedule for your first period. Okay. Oh, no worries. Okay.
Hello, is this class over?
So we are just about getting ready to wrap up now.
I didn't even get to write anything down.
That's okay. That's why I was saying, all these classes are recorded, so you'll be able to go back if you want and kind of watch the video of it on the Yes Philly YouTube channel. And then starting next week, we will be having kind of afternoon like Summit Lab office hours where you can come in and get kind of like one-on-one help to get caught up there. All right. But just real quick to kind of wrap up this thought that we were kind of talking about with this proverb. We know, okay, if something is dense, it means there's a lot of it. So if like a forest is really dense, there's a lot of leaves, trees, it's probably hard to see into. So it's saying like, okay, if you are outside of the family, it's like a dense forest. It's hard to see inside. Like I think it was Shabri was saying, it might seem different. It might be hard to understand. If you are inside, so if you're part of the family, if you're inside that forest, you see that each tree has its own position, right? And so here they're kind of using the tree as like a metaphor for people in the family. And that's why we're going to, when we get back next class, talk about, family trees and kind of what they mean, what they look like, to kind of use that same premise of like the family being like a forest and each tree kind of has its own position. So the trees at the top kind of spread their roots, and that's where we get the rest of the family. Okay? But that might be hard for somebody who's outside of that family or that forest to see. That's kind of what we're talking about there. Okay. All right, ladies and gents. So I do know that was kind of like rushed a little bit at the end there. But hopefully you guys can take something away. We're going to come back and start with this again on Tuesday. Again, I will ask for a little bit more participation on Tuesday. Again, the more you guys participate, the more we get out of this class. I know it's tough. I know we're virtual, right? But, I also know it's not fun to just sit and watch me wait for you guys to answer stuff. So the more you guys engage, the better, the more engaging the class will be. So that's what I will ask from you guys for next Tuesday. But unless anybody has any questions, you guys are good to go for today. Have a good weekend. And you're heading off to second period now. So make sure you know which link you are using. All right. So thank you guys. If I shouldn't have anybody for second period today because it's Friday. Right. So thank you guys. Stay safe. Have a good weekend. I will see you again on Tuesday. And again, remember, this class will be up on the S Philly YouTube if you want to go back and catch up. Okay. So unless anybody has any questions, I'm gonna go ahead and
I just answered the one we was just working on. So
all right, cool. Should be it'll save automatically if you're doing it
Alright.
on Summit. So thank you. Good job.
All right.
All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and end the chat if there are no other questions. Again, have a good weekend, and I will see you all on Tuesday.